All right, so Mirio is finally back, and a lot of us knew that this was coming. I mean, it's kind of set up at the end of the overhaul arc that he's not going to be down and out forever. Like, you know, when Sir Night Eye is like talking to him and they're on the deathbed and everything, he's like, you have a bright hero as a future. I'm paraphrasing, but he says something like that, which basically implies that he's not going to be quirkless forever. It was also further set up that something like this was going to happen after the joint training arc. You know, when they have Monoma come in and try to copy Eri's quirk, Mirio is there as well. And of course, Monoma couldn't do anything because it was an accumulation quirk and he could only copy the base quirk ability. And we didn't get the Mirio return at that point, which is fine because it was just more built up. And that brings us to chapter 256, because at the end of that chapter, we see Eri being held by like Nejiri, and her horn is like sparking and it's huge. And she's like, you know, I feel weird. My horn feels weird and whatever. So I think this is the catalyst right here, this moment exactly. Because clearly they showed us this for a reason. So does that mean that Eri's quirk like went off at that moment in time? I don't think so, because you know, the follow-up chapter is right before like the beginning of the big war arc. So maybe it happened a little bit after that. So I'm not sure chronologically exactly when she activated her quirk here, but if we fast forward, you know, 20 chapters into chapter 276, we see her with All Might, you know, watching the Jakku destruction stuff, and her horn is smaller, indicating that she used her quirk. So it's some time in between then that she activated her quirk with Mirio there and rewound him to the point of where he still had his quirk factor. So that's pretty much how Mirio got his quirk back here. And yes, that is how her quirk works. It's not like it just heals a person or something like that. She's pretty much rewinding the time of a person. Think about when Thanos used like the time stone to bring back the mind stone from, you know, Vision's head. Pretty much the same thing is happening here, except instead of the mind stone coming back, it's Mirio's quirk. So that raises a whole bunch of other questions. It's like, okay, so what else can Eri do with this? What other people can benefit from this? Maybe All Might? I'm gonna have to make another video about that because there's way too much to talk about it in this one. But please subscribe if you're interested in that follow-up video. But aside from all that stuff, epic return from Mirio here. I mean, how could you not like this guy? You know, coming in at the last moment, protecting Best Jeanist from the pseudo high ends. And also, if you're curious about earlier in this chapter when Burnin was encountering those other pseudo high ends, he also saved her. You can kind of see his punch coming in that one panel. But touching on Mirio's strength here, because I've also made a video, you know, how strong is Mirio? Check that out in case you're interested in that stuff. But I think this is further cementing what I've talked about in that video, where Mirio is like really strong. Like, for not having like a strength augmenting quirk, he kind of has like superhuman strength, almost like on the level of 8%, maybe even more than 8% full cowling of like Izuku, like comparing what like he did to overhaul and what Mirio did to overhaul. Here, Mirio blasting these pseudo high ends multiple times with, you know, much effectiveness, because we also see him, which I guess he's doing the Phantom Menace, you know, like his named move in this sequence, which was always awesome. But like I was saying, it just shows that like he's strong enough to like smash these high ends without like a quirk assisting him or something like that. And it also is like, okay, so how effective is he going to be from this point on? And it's like, yeah, his quirk is awesome. He's probably one of the best quirk users, we'll say, but like, you know, how effective is he going to be in this battle overall? And I think, you know, pretty effective, aside from taking on like Plus Ultra Shigaraki or Gigantomachia, but their former probably won't be any more of a threat in this arc, I suppose, possibly. But I'm honestly unsure what more Mirio is going to do at this point, considering this is seemingly the end of the arc. But anyway, backtracking a little bit, I'm really surprised that Gigantomachia is so restricted by the carbon fiber cables that Best Jeanist has wrapped around him. I mean, I expected him to stifle him for a little bit, but even after Shigaraki gave him the order to destroy, he's still bound by it, which is super impressive from Best Jeanist. But he definitely is on borrowed time here. Like, I don't think this is going to be the end of the villains here, because you can even see the cables like about to break, and they're like, you know, if Best Jeanist loses his concentration, then, you know, he's going to break free. I think that's going to happen eventually. I mean, Mirio did protect him here, but, you know, how long is Mirio going to be able to fight off these pseudo high ends or whatever other obstacles here? I mean, we still have Dabi, Mr. Compress, Spinner and all of those, and I'm sure Mirio could take care of them. But something is definitely going to happen here to release Gigantomachia, at least in my opinion. He's going to be the scapegoat for the villains here. I mean, unless he's not and they just win, and then I don't know what to tell you after that point. But another awesome thing in this chapter is that we're getting to see Shoto take on Dabi, and they are straight up battling, which is just really cool to see. And the whole sequence where like Dabi is like doing this type of maneuver and while Shoto's blasting him, but we see that Nejiri is like a casualty of this exchange between Shoto and Dabi. And if you're confused by this sequence, it's totally understandable. Horikoshi probably should have handled this sequence a little better. So what he's doing, I think, is just shooting his own flames from his back to hit Nejiri. Like while he's like defending against Shoto, he's also like shooting a thing at Nejiri to stop her from going after Shigaraki and Spinner. Because he's like, you know, hey Endeavor, look, history repeating yourself. Another kid burned up by your flames. Meaning that like, you know, he's the child of Endeavor, so they're technically Endeavor's flames, I guess. Or he's redirecting Shoto's flames at her. It's either one or the other, I guess, but either way, I just think that's what's happening. And also we're getting Dabi's thoughts on Natsuo, something that I was interested in a couple chapters back. And it's when Shoto's like, you know, hey, you sent that villain? He almost killed Natsuo. And he's like, oh, you know, that's too bad. That really would have made Endeavor upset. He's like, hey, that's your brother. Are you insane? He's like, yeah, I pretty much am insane. So yeah, Dabi, as I've been saying, 100% unredeemable at this point. He is gone. Toya is no more. There was only this crazy, insane Dabi person left. But also another thing is that Dabi is like freed from the carbon fibers around him. I guess he like melted them, or you know, which assisted him in breaking them out of them. So that could be another way that Gigantomachia breaks out of these. It's that Dabi just like lights him up with the carbon fiber around him. You know, granted Shigaraki and Spinner get away from him or something, but he like melts the carbon fiber cables on him, and that's how he breaks free. Because also going back to, I don't know, chapter 221 or 222, somewhere around there, he hits Gigantomachia with his flames and they don't really do anything to him. So maybe he'll remember that and be like, okay, let me just nuke the carbon fiber cables, and then Gigantomachia will be all right and he'll be able to break it free out of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Gonna make like 1 or 2 follow-up videos to this chapter. So subscribe if you're interested in that stuff. If you like the video, guys, please give it a like. Let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments. Have a great day. I'll see you next one.